Hey everybody, I'm Amanda Van Heil. I write for Zelda Universe. I'm also the news host and I'm an actor.
Hi everyone, I'm Simon. I'm on YouTube as Simon Says 314. You can check that out for more content like you see here.
Hi
See,
everybody, I'm Orion. I act and was recently in a Zelda short, which brings me here, and I also sing in a band called City of Ashes.
So how did you get involved in with the Zelda short? Like how did
Well,
you audition or did you just already know Oliver?
well, myself and Oliver have worked together previously. We've done a couple of short movies together, and it's kind of funny. We actually met. I'd left Canada for London, and the first job I could get there, I was literally cleaning glasses in a bar. It was like the only job. When you move to a new city, it's just whatever you can get right away. And so I was left there cleaning glasses in this bar until like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And the guy cleaning glasses with me was Ollie. And so it became, oh, what are you doing in London? Oh, well, I'm an actor and I just finished school and all that sort of thing. And what are you doing? Oh, I want to make movies. So we're like, huh, this is quite cool. So we spent a lot of time together. We started doing various different shorts. And this project, he started talking to me about this visualization he had for this Zelda world. And unlike you guys, I didn't play all of the video games. But one of my big things as a kid was the Ocarina of Time on the old N64. And I just got really into this story he was telling me about these characters and how he visualized it and the things he really wanted to focus on within that. And I got really sucked into that. And so we talked about it for a few years, actually, and then eventually managed to get some funds together to put it together. So that's kind of how it came about.
Alright. You mentioned that you also worked on other video projects with him. Was
hmm
this one different from the others? Like just the way that it took place since it was already an original IP by Nintendo?
Yeah. You try your best to pay homage to the material. I mean, there is no, people will argue about this, but I think there is no perfect way to do, these stories, whether it's a novel or whatever the original source material is. There's no perfect way to go, this is exactly it, without, putting in your vision of it,
Right.
and to interpret things the way that you find them. And inevitably, some people will like it, some people won't. That's the way of it. But I think that given a really, really short thing, which by its nature had to be basically exposition, it's basically all about trying to describe this world to an audience and give them a visual idea of what it would be like as a movie. I think for that, it came out really pretty well. I feel like you watch it and you get a real sense of the world that you're involved in. And of course, working with Lara was playing Zelda, or Shake, in the short, and that was a blast. We have a great time. We had a lot of fun doing it, and I think we managed to get across the idea of this world. And some people, as I say, will like it, and some people won't. But I think that's the nature of doing anything that makes a statement, right?
Right.
Not everybody will warm to the same things.
Exactly. So, what was your initial reaction to how the video was received by fans?
You know, Me and Ollie kind of differ on this. I think because he's so close to it, he edited it for so long. He he really focuses on the ones that came through not liking it so much. But for me, the ones that don't like it will always be more vocal. And you
Right.
look at the likes to dislikes ratio, and I looked shortly before we came online. It's about 500 likes to 23 dislikes, something like that.
Right.
And that's a pretty strong ratio. I can live with that, I can go to sleep tonight.
Right. Well, one thing is when it comes to stuff on YouTube, say if there's 1,000 views, 950 of them will just be like, okay, this is cool, and then they move on
Mm,
to the next one. And then there's
of course.
30 or 40 people that are like actually taking the time to comment, and then there's those 5 or 10 people that are just like, oh my god, this is horrible.
They just want to
Yeah.
be dicks
Yeah.
because they
The,
think they're cool.
there's a term that we have here, keyboard warriors. I don't know if you guys have that term.
Yes.
I like
People
that.
just being mean because they're hiding behind a screen. So
Yeah.
Right.
there's always going to be those in the world.
Yeah.
Oliver mentioned something about you having an acting coach on the set with you, and while
Do you know
you
one of my I trained in Canada at in Vancouver actually, which is a really beautiful city, but there were a lot of great teachers there, and it just so happened as we were filming, I got a call from him, and he was like, "Hey, I'm in London. Do you mind if I stop by?" Yeah, okay. So it was bizarre, and he wasn't there in a professional capacity, but it was just really nice to catch up with an old friend, you know,
all right,
and for them to see, like with any of you guys, I'm sure, your teachers that have seen you work through stuff, you know, in your schooling, coming and say, "Hey, you're actually still doing it, and you haven't gone and gotten your realty license yet," or whatever.
all right. So, in the
Yeah.
video, was it odd to, because you mentioned you were in other video projects, was it odd being in a project where you're literally just sitting there, not making any noises and just showing facial expressions the whole time?
Yeah, it was different. I mean, because of course, the nature of the scene, it's totally about Lara and about Zelda's exposition of the world. It's what else can you do with a scene that short if you really want to paint a picture, unless you have an awful lot of money to spend on a massive action sequence.
Right.
Um, so every single project, as Amanda, you'll know very well, as an actor, every single one comes with its own challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that challenge is literally to do not that much, and that is surprisingly hard some of the time. So
It is
for
because
two,
less is so much more. Because
right?
you want to be like, oh, I want to indicate all this stuff. It's like, no, 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 you never
No,
indicate. It's the
no,
worst
don't
thing
do
you
that.
can do. Indicating
So
is bad.
right. So I mean, because of course, shooting takes so much longer. So we shot for 2 days, and for 2 days I was just sitting at this table going, my God, stay focused. And you know, some of the time you'll get to mid-afternoon or whatever, and if you've just been there for so long at this table, your focus starts to go, whoa, and you sort of bring yourself back into it, and okay, I'm gonna need 5-minute coffee break or whatever it is. You know, it's so you know, every job comes with its own challenges.
Right.
Yeah, I look at it like pretty much every minute you see on film took about an hour to
Right.
shoot.
Yeah.
Just shoot.
And this was I agree with you on that for the normal ones. For this one we had, you know, the floating ball of Navi hiding in the corner, literally floating around my face. That was a whole other thing. And then when she's having to mime the fire from this candle, it really presented stuff that we just hadn't worked with before. So it took a lot longer
All right.
than we would have ideally liked.
Yeah.
So, what kind of video projects are you used to working on?
Well, you know, we actually did a test shot for this, or it was actually its own independent short movie, but we did it as a test shot to see how me and Laura were together for shooting this. And you can look it up on Oliver's YouTube, actually. I think it's OLF42. And it's a movie called Peach, and it did surprisingly well. We just threw it together in one evening, and then it went off to the London Short Film Festival as part of the official selection, which was very cool. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. It's fun to see, you know, me and Lara doing two things that are so different together, if that makes any sense at all.
Right.
So yeah, worth checking out.
All right.
Definitely. Absolutely.
All right. Simon, you've been kind of quiet. Do you have any questions?
Have I? Yeah. I was wondering for the aspiring video makers out there. You mentioned that you got funding or that you got some funds.
Hmm.
How did you get those? Was that from cleaning glasses at a bar, or
Man, we definitely had to do that.
right?
It's what I find is it really becomes about, whether we're talking about this or making demo records when I'm playing music, you really have to put in the grunt work and be willing to get your hands dirty if you believe in your project. And if you're not willing to do that, well, then maybe that project isn't as important to you. It certainly gives you a lot of time to think about how you're going to approach the project, because you want to make the most of those opportunities once you have them, because funds are limited.
Yeah. Did y'all do a Kickstarter at all for it?
We didn't know.
Okay.
We looked to the possibility and we just thought, really, do we think we want to sit around and wait for it and not really believing that that was going to get funded that way? Or do we just want to say, you know what, we've worked hard, the money's there, let's just go do it?
Right. I just know, like, the show that I'm doing, we didn't do a Kickstarter for the initial shoot, and
Sure.
then once we put that together, so we had something to show, and we were like, we could do so much more with this. Then
Right.
we moved forward and did a Kickstarter, so the whole thing got funded.
Yeah. I mean, we'd love to do that, but of course, as
Yeah.
Jesse mentioned, with it not being our IP,
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, full difference.
yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Nintendo's getting really funny about that right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so many people are.
Did you all look at other Zelda fan videos as inspiration, or did you all just kind of take it in your own direction?
A bit of both. Ollie definitely started out by just talking about the ideas. And then we sort of started looking at a few that have popped up on YouTube and whatever. And I guess none of them, or none of the ones that I particularly saw, really spoke to me that much about character. And really painted, I wanted to see something where you looked at it and you were like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm there, I feel like I'm part of this story, as opposed to just staying absolutely hardline to the video games that were there, which are great. But the thing with playing a video game, it's very much your experience of playing that video game. And no matter what, everybody ends up with these ideas in their head about how that should be. So I don't know, we just tried to go out very heavily painting this world a way that felt real to us. And I guess that's all you can do, right?
Yeah. One of the things that I mentioned to Oliver on the last podcast we did with him was that in most Zelda fan videos, it's just Link riding on Epona through a blank
Big
field,
fields
and then there's the CGI backdrop in the background, and there's a little bit of action sequence. And for the most part, they honestly turn out to be pretty cheesy. But with your video, without having any action and just having it dialogue only, it really gives you a sense of the drama and the weight that's on Link's shoulder to save Hyrule.
That was exactly what we wanted to paint. It wasn't, as exactly as you say, it's the big sort of riding on the horse scenes have been done. And it's not that they've been done badly, it was just, it didn't seem relevant or important to us to just do the same thing and go, we're just going to show him riding through the field from a different angle, or with a different backdrop. That's when you put enough work into it, you don't just want to rehash what somebody else has done. That's not that, if we got the opportunity to do a feature or whatever, that we wouldn't sort of have those scenes in there, because of course you would. They're iconic sort of looking scenes to anybody that knows the franchise.
Right.
But to introduce that world, that wasn't really the direction we wanted to go.
Alright. One thing that I sort of found ironic, and I'm sure a lot of other people will as well, with Link speaking in the games and movies and any other kind of adaptation is really a strong debated topic, and a lot of people want Zelda to speak just to see if it would actually be good, but then other people think that it'll just completely ruin it. Whether it's a movie, a game, a cartoon, if he talks, it's just automatically going to be ruined. And then there's the group of people that just don't care. So, the way that you all went about having Navi sort of speak for Link instead of having Link talk, I think that was the best way to get around it. And I mentioned that it's ironic because in the film you play a silent Link, but in real life you're actually the lead vocalist of a band. So it's like two huge opposites there.
Yeah, wearing different hats.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that, as we were talking about before, everybody has their own image in their heads of any type of source material, of how they feel that should be, and for some people that's the only way it should be, and there shouldn't be any, But isn't that difficult when you get to a character that doesn't speak, because everybody imagines that voice in their own way. Many people will imagine it as their voice.
Right.
And something that came up with a lot of people commenting was, that they were really hurt and offended by the fact that Lara has a British accent. And they were going, wow, why are they doing this stuff? They're just trying to copy Game of Thrones. And sort of sitting there going, we shot it in London.
Right.
Lara's specifically not doing an accent because we felt that would be false. So it wasn't so much a conscious choice to make it that way as opposed to, well, that's what we are, and I guess,
It's not like it was some cheesy high school production of A Christmas Carol version of an English accent.
So it was just one of those things. We kind of felt we wanted to, as you say, I think most people are happy if you tell the story as effectively as you can. And for us, we felt the way to go about that was to try and acknowledge and pay homage to the source material by having Navi speaking for him in that sense, and it also leaves people that leeway to use their own imagination, still manage to put that experience they had in the game, hopefully, into their watching of the movie a little bit.
All right. We've been talking about the Zelda fan film for a while. Would you like to talk about your band for a minute and just kind of let us all know how exactly that band formed, and if you have any prior experience with other bands and the type of music that it is?
Well, we're a rock band. We live near a city called Brighton in the UK, and we have had our album out for coming on around 18 months, I think, and it's doing pretty well, which is nice to see. We've had the opportunity to tour with some really great bands. The Californian band Trapped, I don't know if you guys remember them, had a really famous song called Headstrong. Yeah. So we got to tour with them when they were over here in November, and that was a blast. Those guys are pretty crazy.
All right.
So yeah, we're having a really good time. We're just right now working on our second album. So,
right.
Yeah.
And the Miley Cyrus cover, how did that come about? Like, of all songs to cover,
it's a good song.
Yeah,
it really is.
But it's like, whenever I heard it, I listened to it, and I hadn't even heard the original at that point, and I was like, this actually sounds good. So then a few days later, I went and listened to the original, and I was like, okay, so I wonder how closely the two songs match up, and then that's when I did the edit that I sent you.
Right.
To where it had the different versions kind of side by side.
Right. Well, I loved it. I thought it was hilarious, and I would love for you to put it online, because I'd love for people to get to hear it and, judge it as they will.
Right.
But yeah, we just finished doing the album, and that was a lot of months, really hard work. And Amanda, as you'll know very well, it's similar to being on set. It gets very stressful. People get fried with each other. And so we finished it, and we got back into our rehearsal room, and we just kind of went, oh man, we need to do something fun. We need to do something stupid. So our drummer hit upon this crazy idea of, hey, let's go and cover Miley Cyrus. And we were like, yeah, okay, we can do that and be ridiculous. So kind of went along and just acted like kids for 2 days in the recording studio and went out with our producer for drinks, and it was pretty funny.
All right.
So, and then we listened to it afterwards and we were like, God, this actually does sound pretty good. Damn it. This was meant to be like a big joke, and now people are going to take it seriously.
Yeah, I watched the video for it. It sounded really good. I mean, that song is not easy to sing at all. So, I mean, you guys did a great job on it.
Thank you.
Right.
It was good fun.
Yeah. Simon, do you have any questions?
No. I like the yoga ball part of the video.
Oh, you got that?
Yeah.
You're like the one guy that gets that.
That's me.
All right. So, as far as Super Smash Bros. Nintendo just put up a ballot as to who you would like to vote for in Smash. And a lot of people have been pretty vocal about it already and have ideas of who they'd like. So I have a list of characters I would love to add to the show, or to the game. First up is Tingle from Majora's Mask, because he's funny and I love him. The thing with Tingle, you either love him or you hate him, one or the other. So it's a perfect balance, because if you like him, you get to play as Tingle. The idea of him just like belly flopping on opponents sounds brilliant. And his final smash can be his Kulu Limpa dance. Perfect already.
Right.
And then if you don't like Tingle, then you get to beat the crap out of him. I think that's a win for everybody.
Totally.
I can get behind that.
Yeah. Another one a lot of people are wanting is Bayonetta, because she does kick ass.
Right.
She's freaking hot. Gonna say that. So she would be amazing. It will add more female representation to the game for those who are really adamant about that.
Right.
And because,
right.
like, what? We've got Robin, and
Samus,
and Zelda.
Wii Fit Trainer.
Yeah, Wii Fit Trainer. But she would be really good, and she does kick butt, and she's an awesome character. I would be okay with her being added. A lot of the people from Zelda Universe, they all want Groose from Skyward Sword. He's pretty great. He's pretty entertaining. I'm totally loving the red hair. So he would be another good brawler. So his attacks would be more along the lines of like Ganondorf or Captain Falcon, something like that. So he would be able to do really strong attacks. Wouldn't be as good with defense. So he would basically be a glass cannon. But his attacks would be fan-freaking-tastic, and I would love to see that. And I don't know, maybe his final smash could be that cannon that he built at the end of Skyward Sword that you could use to shoot the imprisoned. I hated that stupid imprisoned guy. So that could be your final smash, is you could shoot people with that.
Alright. I would love to see, and there's actually a few articles posted online about it, the president of Xbox wants to see Banjo-Kazooie in Smash Brothers.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Okay with that.
Yeah.
Oh.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Since he was originally developed for Nintendo by Rare.
I love Banjo-Kazooie. That would be so much fun.
Wouldn't that be great?
I would love to see the Duck Hunt dog with the duck going up against Banjo-Kazooie.
That's right,
or
because
Banjo-Kazooie.
they're very similar.
Put the two together. That would be the ultimate fight. That'd be really funny. Yes, I'm all for Banjo-Kazooie.
Alright, and then another addition I would like to see isn't really an extra character, but I would like to see Child Link from Majora's Mask return with a final smash of putting on the Fierce Deity mask.
Oh, that'd be cute.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then I think the Skull Kid would be an interesting choice,
Cool.
especially since the DLC was added to Hyrule Warriors, and then Majora's Mask's remake just came out, so it would be interesting to see that. But what about you guys? What characters would you two like to see?
Simon?
If we're going strictly from Nintendo, I was thinking a Goron. would be pretty sweet.
That'd be cool. It would be like Bowser,
That would
so
be
it would be
fun.
that same mechanic.
Right.
Yeah, it would actually, with a Goron, it would be interesting to see it sort of like the Pokemon trainer from previous games, to where you can throw out different Pokemon, but instead you can switch masks, like in Majora's Mask, to transform into the characters.
Yeah,
That would be
that'd
cool.
be cool.
I got to ask you guys, because I haven't seen these online polls yet. I didn't know about it until Amanda, you started talking about it. But who's winning at the moment?
We don't know. Because it's not like listed on the website. We don't have like a graph or anything right now. It's just people are just submitting openly.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure. I mean, I really love the Banjo-Kazooie idea. I think that'd be a blast.
That would be so
because
cute.
I love like with these games, you know, I love the sort of comedy aspect to it.
Yeah.
Those are always really fun, and it opens it up to a much wider audience than just the people who know all the source games. And I think that'd be really fun.
Right.
I think if they added the Pokemon trainer in again, I want it to be Ash because I love the anime of Pokemon. So they can switch it and make it Ash and then add Misty in there because I love her.
Right.
That would be another cool one. I'm glad there's no ice climbers because I hate them. But Tingle is still #1 on my list. I think that would be awesome. I would love that. But I do like the idea of the Goron and then switching it up with like the masks, and that would be a good choice to have. Like as if we incorporated Child Link again, just Link with like an assortment of masks, and it would be kind of like a Child Link Pokemon trainer hybrid sort of thing.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
So I wanted to talk about living abundantly because to me it's super important. Every situation in life, we have two choices or two states that affect how we're going to react. One is abundance and one is scarcity. And they produce two very different results. For example, I was thinking it's kind of like Link. Abundance is kind of like Link with 10 big sticks, as opposed to scarcity being with 1 or -10. You know, the results you're going to produce are completely different. The confidence you're going to have is completely different if you're coming from a state where you're full and filled, or if you're empty. A good example that we can all relate to is like a relationship, or just like getting to know people. For example, if you're in Walmart, that's a terrible example. If you're just in a random location and you see a cute girl or a cute guy, whether you are in a place of abundance or scarcity, you're going to produce two very different reactions. If you're in a place of abundance, you're going to be able to light it up. You know, you're going to be able to overflow with fun and really give to her. And it's not going to really matter if she like responds to you or not. If you're in a place of scarcity, you probably won't even go up and try to talk to her or him or anything. And if you do, you're going to go in looking to get something, to be filled up. And that's really the difference.
So by living in abundance, you're not actually talking about material possessions. You're more talking about...
sort of a confidence and...
Right.
And sort of a fullness of self.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great clarifying point.
Okay.
All right.
It's not about what you have. It's about what you are and what's inside. Really filling up so that you can give and you can grow, and you're not the opposite of that, looking to receive all the time and be filled up by others.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I was a little confused there at first because yesterday, whenever you first brought up the topic, I thought you meant like living in surplus, to where you have, like, for example, your fridge is so full of food that you'll eat all the food for a week, and then you'll have a bunch of leftovers that you'll just have to keep constantly throwing away. but you were actually talking about sort of self-confidence, and
Yeah,
too much of that could actually linger into pride and have the opposite effects of what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah. You
So,
don't want your abundance mentality to turn into pride, but an abundance mentality is something that everyone, no matter where they're at in material possessions, can have, and it will drastically improve the quality of your life.
all right.
I think I agree with you. I think that though part of that, possibly a bigger part of that, um, as opposed to having a sort of confidence that's just about yourself, is giving that to others. If you want your friends to be confident enough to go to talk to that girl or to go to that job interview or to chase the projects they care about, then I think passing that on to other people. So, ever reminding your friends, your family, etc., that they are good enough to go do these things, I think that will end up harvesting you back those results just as strongly. I think it becomes more about a sense of community because it's very hard to raise those things in isolation just for yourself.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up because abundance most often, well, abundance really overflows onto others. As where scarcity is actually where pride comes in. When you're so scarce, you start to really look to be better than others because you're not filled. And so you start to take and look to receive, and that often comes off as pride, really protecting your vulnerabilities. As where if you're abundant, you overflow and you give to others, and you're not being prideful because you have enough. There's no fight there for the little pieces that you do have.
Right. An example that comes to my mind is last week we had the discussion of E3 or Comic-Con stories. If you don't have, in your words, abundance, or if you don't have the... Oh god, we were just talking about the word, I forgot. But it's like,
Confidence?
yeah, if you don't have the confidence and you're wanting to dress up as Link and go out to Comic Con and have a lot of fun, but you're too
Which is totally
worried.
why I did it, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like if you're too worried about what other people will think, or if you have it in your head that someone's not going to like it, then having someone in your life with abundance that's just like, hey, yeah, it'll be cool. I'll go with you. We can go with friends. It'll sort of the confidence that they have will kind of flow into you, and you won't be as scared to go out and possibly be made fun of.
Hmm.
That's what
Yeah.
I love about doing the Slave Leia shoot every year is the fellow Slave Leias and I. They're all the girls are just so incredible, and none of them do it just to get approval from other people. I know that is a common like stereotype. Oh, they're just wearing that for attention. It's like, no, you wear it because you like to wear it. It is very empowering. It's a lot of fun because you're wearing it because you love the character and you love the outfit and you don't care what anybody says. It takes a lot of confidence to put on that metal bikini. And every single one of those girls who are in that photo shoot, every time we do the photo shoot, they're all just incredible. They're all really cool. Not a single one of them has tried to like one up the other. It's been nothing but complimentary the whole time.
Hmm. And as Jesse mentioned, for maybe, either sex that feels or finds those situations particularly difficult, going to, say, Comic-Con, for example, dressing as any character, regardless of whether it's revealing or not, will take a large degree of confidence, and it's important, I think, that or any other creative endeavor to support those.
Absolutely.
Right. So Simon, did we get close to the way that you were meaning for your topic, or were we sort of off a little bit? Because the way that it could be taken is kind of unclear, as I mentioned. Like, you could take it as material possession, and then there's just different examples that you could use. So did we get the idea of your topic, right?
Yeah,
All right.
it's definitely from a place of abundance, not about your possessions.
All right.
So, just to close, I guess, we're all afraid that we're not enough, you know, and that because we're not enough, we won't really have the love that we want in our life, and that brings a lot of fear, you know. Tony Robbins said those are our two greatest fears that we have, and so they affect our life negatively if we allow them to. So I just encourage people to find a place, find an activity where they feel that they're enough, and that they really excel at, and bring those feelings into the rest of their life. And that's really abundance mentality.
All right.
Hmm.
All right. Great topic, Simon.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking, Amanda and Ori, you guys sort of go through that every time that you get on film or step in front of a camera. You may have that thought in the back of your head. It's like, oh, what if I don't do a good job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
like, if you don't think you're that great, then you know you may be too nervous to talk right, or your voice may be a little fluttery or something. And
Well,
then
then you.
especially with sorry to interrupt you, but
No, go ahead.
with you going out on stage to sing,
Hmm.
you kind of have to have the abundance that Simon was talking about to work
Right.
with the rest of your band to make sure everybody's in sync. And,
Right.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, some days, as Amanda, you'll know very well, some days you're not in the best of health, or you didn't get any sleep, or, if we've been on tour for a while, you start to feel not so great because your diet's not as good as it could be.
Yeah, when I was in Into the Woods, I had tonsillitis, and I
Right.
was playing Rapunzel. I had to hit
Right.
a high B flat with tonsillitis. That was so miserable.
Right. It is awful. And you know yourself in your head, this is not where, this is not as good as you can do it. But some days, like, Sam was talking about, some days that's just where you have to go from. And one of the things I like a lot and care about most with the creative process of both film and stage and the musical side of it is it's a collaborative process. So I at least am constantly reminded, you have the support of everybody in that film crew, of everybody on that stage with you, of that audience, whatever it is. And it's about being in that room all together, regardless of whether you're on, front or behind the scenes or the audience. Everybody has equal buy-in to that experience. And I think you lean on the strengths of that night,
Right.
If you're not going to feel like you can do your high B flat every day, then what is that show about that night? You fill that up with other things that you can bring to that story that night.
Right. All right. Does anyone else have anything to add before we move on to the next topic? Because I know Amanda has to leave for work sort of soon.
Sure, I'm sorry, Amanda. I'm keeping you
No,
quite
you're
late.
fine. I've got an hour before I have to be out the door,
Oh, okay.
so I'm good.
All right.
Jesse, you have strangely frozen on my screen.
Yeah, mine as well.
Mine too.
Okay, I'm glad it's not just me.
Okay. So I want to talk about just not really your first introduction into video games, but the strongest first memory that you have of playing games that made you sort of want to keep pursuing that. Sort of like the first song that you listen to as a kid and you get your first favorite band.
Sure.
An example with me is when I was little, 2, 3, 4 years old, however old I was, I remember waking up with my parents and they would be getting my older brother ready for school, and he would leave, and it would most of the time be me and my dad or me and my mom, and we would be playing A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo, and those are actually the first some of the first actual memories I have, let alone memories about video games.
Sure.
So, whenever I think about, like, the first thing that I can remember is honestly me just playing a game. And because it was Zelda, and it wasn't just me playing it by myself, it was me sharing those moments with my family. I think that's sort of why I fell in love with the Zelda franchise. And then just about every Zelda game that's come out since then, I've just had the obsession of playing it. And it's not just playing it, but it's learning the backstory, the lore, the character backgrounds, just everything about it. And so I would like to hear from you guys, like, what your first true experience with games were.
Okay.
I apologize for the cat over my head there, by the way.
Oh, no, never apologize for kitty cats. Never apologize for cats. They're the greatest. I wish my kitty would join in on us, but he's scared of this chair.
Oh, somebody's getting it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Oh.
So I
I'll
thought
let him
somebody
carry on.
was reaching for the cat. Sorry.
Oh.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Sorry, Amanda, carry on.
Oh, I was just gonna say. So I mean, I love video games so much. I've played since I was, I guess, 3 years old is when I first started playing. My sisters, both of my sisters are a lot older than me, and so my oldest sister, her boyfriend at the time had a Game Boy, like the old brick Game Boy, because I'm old, so this was a long time ago. This was like 89, something like that. And so he handed it to me, so I would leave them alone because I was the annoying baby sister and wanted to play with them the whole time. So he's like, "Here, just play this," so I would quit bugging them. And I think it was either Tetris or Super Mario Land for the Game Boy, and I just fell in love with it. And so then one day my sister was watching me, and so she took me over to his house, and he had an NES. And that's when I was just hooked. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So I remember playing Little Nemo Dream Master. That one was one of my favorites that I played. And then like Mario, of course. I think I played the Gremlins game. And so when I was in kindergarten, I think by that point I was like, okay, I want a Nintendo for Christmas. And so that Christmas, when I was in kindergarten, I got my very first NES. And got that with Duck Hunt and the original Super Mario Brothers. And then shortly after, I got Super Mario Brothers 3, which was probably to this day, my all-time favorite video game. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it would be like me and my mom and my sister would play that one together all the time. My dad claims that he would come home from work and dinner would not be ready because all of us would be in the bedroom playing Mario. And it was just, there was a whole lot of us like trying to get through the game together and screaming and crying from me because anytime the time was starting to run out, I would panic. To this day, I cannot stand anything that is on a timer. I will panic. But once the time started going out, I was like, oh gosh, and I would start crying. And like the chain chomp scared the crap out of me. I would start crying.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. And so, like, I just kept playing it. And then we finally beat it when I was, like, in first grade. I think is when we all finally beat it for the first time. And that year, I also got my very first Game Boy that I still have, is actually in a drawer just to the left of me. And I just stuck on it. And it was just one of those things I've always loved. And then later on, I got a Sega Genesis and got an N64 the Christmas that came out. And games, they really affected me to the point of when I was in school, a lot of the papers I wrote or sentences I had to write was like, use this word use this vocabulary word in a sentence. Nearly all of those were video game related, like all of them. In 8th grade, for example, they asked me to write an essay. It was for the 8th grade writing test. And it had to be on entertainment. And I was like, oh my God, I've got this. I can do this. And so I told the story of playing Super Mario Brothers 3 with my mom and my sister and how we would be playing it and how we would start screaming when like the angry sun would get up and start going after us, how I one time woke my sister up early in the morning because I got to the angry sun level and I went down. I was like, Steffi, will you get past this level for me? And she actually got out of bed and came in and did that level for me. I got a freaking perfect score and an award on that essay. I was so proud of it. And
Right.
it's just, games have just kind of shaped who I am. I've played them all my life. I love them. I'm not going to, as much as I love Nintendo, that is my absolute favorite. But I'm not going to be one of those fangirls who's like, oh, I will only play Nintendo. I refuse to play any other system. Because, I mean, I have an Xbox One. I have a PS3. I've got, like, all sorts of other systems. But that just happens to be my favorite because that's what I started on. And what's funny is, yeah, I write for a Zelda website. My first Zelda game wasn't until I was 12. And that was Ocarina of Time. And I had saved up my money, and my dad took me to KB Toy Store in the mall, and I bought my first Ocarina of Time game, and I was so excited. But I had pre-ordered it, but they lost my pre-order because, I mean, the store was run by 16-year-olds, so what do you expect? And so they were supposed to give me, like, a t-shirt and, like, all these gift cards and stuff, which they claimed they didn't have. And my dad was like, no, you better have one. And so, like, he made sure I got everything, and they gave me the Zelda t-shirt that they claimed they didn't have. And so it's just always been
Mandy,
kind
you know
of
what's going on then is the 16-year-olds wanted all that stuff for themselves.
Exactly! They wanted it, and I was like, hell no, this is mine.
Oh, that's cute, though.
Yeah, and it really was great for me with gaming because I moved a lot, especially, like, in high school. I lived, I think, in 4 different places in high school. And so that's basically what I had to do was play games because I had, like, 0 friends because I would have them for a short amount of time and then I'd have to move away from them. And so all those times of isolation, I just sat in my room and played video games all the time. And so those were my friends.
Right. Yeah. All right. Simon,
Okay.
what are some of your favorite or first video game memories?
Mine goes back to trips to my grandma's house. My grandma has one of those houses with a basement that's all musty, and all of us grandkids would always go down there. And she had an old TV, and I think one of my older brothers had an NES. So we always go down there and play the NES in her basement. It's kind of like our equivalent to going in the basement on that 70s show. We had to go in the basement and play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Mario and Duck Hunt.
Right.
And just relax.
Yeah.
Minus the sitting in a circle and smoking. But we gotta clear that up.
We can't talk about that. No.
You actually reminded me of a story, Simon. I always had an NES and Super Nintendo, but I remember at my grandmother's house, my cousin's room, he had a Sega, and it was like this really elusive thing because at the time I only knew Mario and Zelda and Link and Donkey Kong, but then there was this Sonic the Hedgehog, and it was like, because we weren't allowed to go into his room, it was just like that elusive, rare thing that you want to play just because you can't. So we would always like try to sneak through the window to play it, and we would get to like the 2nd or the 3rd level, and then we would all get in trouble and get grounded or whatever for going in the room, and then we would just try to do it again. And then like it was just like the thing because we weren't allowed to play it, and we were so used to Nintendo, we were just like, what's this black box?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's this little blue guy? Why is he so much faster? Right. Alright.
I guess my first memory is, and this is gonna sound really crazy. I grew up in Saudi for a lot of years, Saudi Arabia. So my very first video game memory is an old Ataris that my mother bought my father, and it had, do you remember Pong?
Yeah.
Your little paddles that move up and down on the side of the screen? That is my first memory and of a video game, and it wasn't until much later that we didn't have a whole lot of money, so we never had consoles like ourselves. But when I was a little older, friends of mine had an N64, and the lasting memories I have were, I guess, similar to yours, Amanda, in you know, that sense of bringing people together. It was Mario 64 Battle Mode with the little balloons above you. You know, you remember that?
Yeah,
I
on
didn't know there was
Mario
a
Kart.
battle
Yeah.
mode.
On
Yeah,
Mario
Yeah,
Kart.
it was the best thing.
Oh, okay, never mind. I thought you were talking about like Super Mario 64, the
No,
single
no, sorry.
player. Okay, Mario Kart 64 battle mode.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I don't know what you're
Battle-
talking about.
Right, with the wee balloons and,
Yeah.
you know, shooting people with the shells and seeing them. That was the best thing. And GoldenEye,
Right.
you know, and doing those sort of multiplayer things. But it was always hilarious. We would always be terrible because we'd be sitting around just in fits of laughter. And then, you know, when you get super tense when somebody started chasing you, and I would be awful because my friends had this game and, you know, had it all down, you know, all the whatever techniques. And I'd be sitting there going, yeah! You know, with this damn control, trying to stay ahead of whoever was chasing me. As if holding it like this is going to make any difference at all.
Oh, it makes all the difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that, yeah, my face like that. But that's my lasting memory, was that, you know, it being about all these people hanging out together. So yeah, that was my first memories of it.
All right. Awesome. I think we finished through everything in half the time that we did last week.
That's a good start.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Ori, just thank you so much for allowing us to have this podcast with you.
Oh no, you guys, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. It was great getting to talk to you.
Oh, it was great getting to talk to you guys. I watched you guys talking with Ollie a week ago, something like that.
Yeah.
So no, it's nice to get to talk to you guys myself.
Awesome. All right. Simon, Amanda, Ori, do any of you guys have any last things to say?
Not really.
Thank you all for joining us. I'm getting all tongue-tied. Sorry. Just thank you all. It's always fun to talk gaming with you guys, and thank you to everybody watching us talk gaming and be just total dorks together.
All right.
And thank you to everybody who's watched.
Yeah. I want to say, Amanda and Simon, thank you guys for waking up extra early at 6 in the morning to do this.
Oh wow, yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah. And,
It's okay. Sleep didn't happen last night.
Damn, we could have started earlier.
We could have started at 4.
Right. Yeah, and Ori, if any of the people watching are unfamiliar with who you are and what you do, what could they do to find out more about you, or where could they find your band?
They can familiarize themselves on the old YouTube by searching youtube.com/City of Ashes Band, where there are many music videos and other such fun stuff. And they can also go via Ollie's channel, who you had on before, to see some of our creative endeavors in that regard. And I believe that is the YouTube channel OLF42.
All right. Simon, what about you? Where could people find you?
You can find me soon on YouTube at Simon Says 314.
Best place to find me is on Twitter. You can follow me at Panda, as in Panda Bear, Pandamonium 86. 86 is when I was born, because I'm old. But yeah, follow me on Twitter. I post all sorts of funny things on there.
Right, and you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all ending with Game Over Jesse.